Guys, I got some bad news. You've been learning 251 lines all wrong. In this video, I'm going to teach you about the Master 251 line framework, which will take your lines from sounding like this to this. All right, let's get started. Okay, so before I get into showing you how to play all of these lines on the guitar, and if you play a different instrument, you can also apply this as well. At the end of the video, I'll have a link where you can download the music notation and tab for these lines. But let's talk about the importance of the Master 251 line framework versus just learning lines. So this all came about when I was teaching some of my students, and they were having the issue of feeling like the lines that they were playing were just totally contrived. Like they'd learn the basic 251, they'd learn the proper voice leading, the proper arpeggios and all that, but they weren't able to visualize playing the lines on their instrument. And so the method that I'd been developing and that seemed to work for me as well as my students was to visualize the guitar in 5 different positions. Now that part isn't new, but what is new is when you visualize your lines based on the chords that you would play in that position. So in this case, 251, so D minor 7, G13, and a C major 7 here. If you have a certain line that shows you that path of the harmony, so in this case, showing me where this 2-5 is happening with arpeggios with scales, then I can improvise around that. So not taking and copying that exact line, although those lines work, but the idea is to show you the path in that position so you can come up with your own lines. And if you do that with each of the 5 positions, you get these 3 benefits. You get to master your fretboard or your instrument in all parts of your range. In this case on guitar, we split it up into 5 positions. You get to play fast. So one of the issues I was having with standard 251 lines that saxophonists would play or horn players is that they don't fit that well on guitar. So in order to play guitar type lines, I started studying guys like Joe Pass and George Benson, Wes Montgomery, and they play different 251 lines than sax players or horn players. And part of the reason for that is the instrument. So once you learn the lines and the way of playing that fits on your instrument, you'll have a much easier time. And then in combining those 2 elements really, being able to visualize those lines, the harmony essentially, across your instrument, in addition to proper technique, what I'm calling playing fast, that gives you the freedom in playing through your lines in a certain key, right? So today we're going to do it in the key of C, but in the ebook that I wrote up, it has 12 different, all 12 keys, and different lines, 5 different lines for each key, because especially on guitar, certain keys fit better in certain positions, so it's not a matter of just transposing the lines I'm showing you today. Each of the keys has their unique line that fits for their position on the guitar. Again, you can adjust this to your own instrument if guitar is not your instrument. Okay, so let's go through all 5 positions. I'll break down the lines. If you want to follow along, there's a link in the description to check out the tab and the music notation for these 5 lines. That part's free. The ebook is a cost, but you can check that out below. All right, so let's start off with position 1. So these are based on, position 1 is based on this D minor 7, this G13, and this C major 7. And the line we have, so we have, right? So moving on from that, this is our position 1. So I'm visualizing the chord shape of D minor and G13 as I'm playing through this. And these changes of B to B flat, da 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 da. That part's pretty standard. Going into the C major. And you might notice certain arpeggios. So we have an E minor 7 arpeggio, some chromaticism. That's pretty common in a guitar type of playing. And then almost like an A minor, almost A minor 7. All right, moving on to our next position. I'm looking at this D minor, this G13, so D minor 11, G13, into that C major, right? And so here we have right? And let's check out our next position. So we have, in this one, we're looking at this D minor 11 type shape, that G13, and so this, standard drop 3, C major 7. And this one we're starting here. So when I'm hitting that last note, again, like I'm visualizing this chord shape around it, right? So I could do some different lines based on that. If I'm thinking of this, the idea is this master 2-5-1 gives me that pattern, gives me the shape of the arpeggio. Moving on to the next one, we have D minor 7 here, this G13 or G9, however you're playing it, into that C major 7, a similar shape. With that enclosure at the end. And then our last one is all the way up here, so we have D minor 7, G13, and then this C major 7 shape. If the chord shape ends up having open strings instead of playing it down here, although that sounds pretty nice, I tend to play it here just to keep the positions in the right order. So this one starts with an ascending. All right, so those are the 5 master 2-5-1 licks in the key of C. We have some other ones to check out. And then from this, you can start to improvise. So let me play along with this backing track. For anyone that buys the ebook, we have backing tracks for the 2-5-1s in all keys at 3 different tempos. So we have it at 80 BPM, 160 BPM, and then 240. So you can start off at 80, work your way up to 160 if you're playing some medium swing, and 240 or even faster if you want to work up these lines to speed. So I'm looking at this shape. The other part. Here. Alright guys, so that just about wraps up this video. Be sure to check out your free preview of the Master 2-5-1 lines in the key of C in the description below. If you want to check out the full ebook, you can do that as well. There's another link down in the description. So I hope this gives you something to think about and implement in your practice routine. Until next time.